All right, so let's take a look at the app deployment feature in BBj. So we're sitting here looking at the Enterprise Manager dashboard, and you'll notice under Web, there is an app deployment node. Underneath there, you can find various items related to app deployment. The first thing we're going to take a look at here is applications. So when we open up the applications, we see a page here with any applications that we have configured. I have one here set up, and we're going to take a look at that, and it's called the dashboard example. You'll notice here you see the name, the web app URL, and then you see under desktop app URL that it's disabled currently. Now what we can do here is we can go in and we can open this in a browser, and we can look at that application and see how it's already configured. So we copy that URL into our browser, we can run it, and then we see the application open inside the browser. So this is an entirely browser-based version of the application running. Now, we can also launch this from the BBj Jetty start page. Now you'll notice here I have this set up, and it's going to my local machine here, and this is just the welcome page. Now you have an app item here, and you can click on that, and it scrolls down and shows you a list of the web apps that are currently configured on this particular machine. From there, we could just click on that link, and it will open the browser-based version of the app in our browser for us, just like we saw there. So those are two different ways that you can get to the browser-based version of the application, right there from the Enterprise Manager as well as the BBj Jetty start page. We're going to come back to this page here in just a minute, but let's go back over to the Enterprise Manager. All right, so back over in the Enterprise Manager, we have our application. And as we said, it's configured for web access, but not desktop access. So we can double click on this and open this up and edit the application configuration. Now let's just take a quick look here at how this application is configured. It's very simple to configure a BBj application to be deployed in this manner. You give your application a name, as you see here. The path to the program file, dashboard example.src is the path. A path to your config BBX that you plan to use. You can set a working directory, choose optional class paths, and so forth. You can also pass in program arguments here. You can specify a specific load image and also a shortcut image that you would like to use as well. So let's go ahead and configure a shortcut image that we want to use. .png. And there we go. So we have that. That's the one change that I want to make. Now there are also some specific options that you can set for web app only and desktop app only if you need to make any settings that would apply to one type of app or the other. But the other thing that we're going to make a minor change here to is desktop app enabled. We want to enable that, and now we have, just with that single click, made our application accessible for quick download and installation, really without any install necessary on all the various platforms that are supported. So once we do that, let's save it. And let's take a look at the Jetty start page now. So let's flip back over there and refresh our page. You'll notice now that we have, under web apps, we have the version that will run in the browser. We also have a desktop app link available now as well. So this link can be launched from here, or it can be sent to a customer via email, or however you choose to send it to them. That link will allow them to download a simple file that they would run on their machine to install the application and run it without any complicated user interaction required. So let's take a look at how that would look. Okay, so we are going to click on the link here. You'll notice it downloaded the file. I'm going to keep it, and it downloaded this file called dashboard example.jar. Let's take a look at that file. You can see here it's a simple jar file, and all I have to do is run that on whatever platform. So I'm on a Mac here, so I'm going to use my jar launcher to run that. On a Windows machine, you would just typically double click on that file. It would launch it and run it automatically, just like any other executable, as long as Java was installed on that machine. Now we run this, I say yes. You'll notice the working while it's pulling down any of the necessary files that it needs to the machine, but it's doing all of that for us so the user doesn't have to do anything special. Now once that goes away, then we know that it's installed, and we can go to our Launchpad on a Mac, and we'll see here that we have our dashboard. And there you have your application running as a standard desktop application right there on the machine. So you saw how quick and easy that was to get it up and running for a user of your application just by simply launching it from the BBj Jetty start page, or by passing that same URL to them via email, through an instant message, however you want to distribute that. It makes it very simple for your users to get up and running without any deployment necessary. Okay, so let's come back over to the Enterprise Manager. I did want to show you one more thing to just make you aware of this. So the application is using a Java runtime environment on the client. Now, sometimes it may be desirable to require a specific Java runtime environment to be used by your customers, and that's for consistency, make support easier sometimes, that kind of thing. But how do you ensure that each user has that same JRE available on their machine, and that their application is in fact going to use the one that you want them to be using? Well, under here, under App Deployment, we have Desktop App JRE. So if we open that up, we can see here that we can configure which JRE should be distributed to the user to then be used when they launch the application on their machine. So you can see here I have a Linux, a Mac, and a Windows version. The check mark here indicates that they are the default to be used, and what will happen is that when somebody downloads the application, that small little launcher file for Linux, then they will get the Linux JRE. If they download it for Mac OS, they'll get the Mac OS JRE, and so forth, and Windows when appropriate. They'll also get the appropriate format of the icons necessary as well to create those shortcuts on their desktop for them. So all of that's handled automatically for you just by simply configuring your applications as we showed here, enabling web app and desktop app if you want it available via both of those methods, and then specifying the JREs that you want. If you don't want to specify a JRE, you don't have to. You can just rely on the user to have the appropriate one installed on their machine. But this is a great way to ensure that everyone is using the same version. And then should you need to change it, should you update your system and you want your end users to also get a new JRE, all you have to do is change it here. The next time they launch their application, they will get a new version of the JRE, as well as any changes that should you make to the application configuration. So all of this happens automatically under the covers. All the user has to do is that initial launching of the application file, and then from there out they will always get any changes that you make on the server side. And so it's a zero deployment option for you.